Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to our regular Thursday night feature of the Sports Crib, brought to you by the Sports Crib Network. A little late tonight, but we have some new guests tonight. I'm hoping that we also get our the guests from CTS interview room. But I see Mr. Marsh is here tonight. Mr. Marsh, how are you doing this evening?
Hey man, doing all right. Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine out here in California. The weather's fine, so you know, just a little typical California day. Um,
Oh yeah,
uh, Tell us a little bit about yourself.
yeah, man. You're out in California. I'm out in the middle of the country in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Originally from the great state of Louisiana. That's where that's where I claim everything. I will fight and say that's one of the greatest states in the country just because of the food right there. But nah, man, just a sports fanatic, dude. That's just that I just love talking sports, guys, and that's why I'm really excited you guys have me on today.
Well, I really can't say too much when you brought up the food. So I thought, right there, you kind of cleared every objection that I had. Of course, now Don might have a little issue. Don is in Texas, and you've mentioned two states that I'm sure that Don has a lot of love for the state of Oklahoma, which he loves driving through. By the way, he enjoys your idyllic pastures and the scenic beauty of Oklahoma and Louisiana. I'm assuming a LSU fan. Dylan, are you an LSU fan also? You muted yourself. You're on mute. You've
All right,
muted
is that
yourself.
better?
Okay, okay. Yeah, now we can hear you. Are you an LSU fan
Oh,
also?
um, I am actually not. I was actually born and raised an Oklahoma fan. Believe it or not, my grandpa
Oh
played
my
for the
goodness.
Sooners back when Bud Wilkinson was the coach. So I was born and raised a Sooner fan. Growing up in Louisiana, which was if you guys look into the past, it was awful. You know,
Huh.
growing up, but now I live in the state, in the Sooner state where my people live now. So I'm good to go now.
Oh man, we have an instant rivalry here. Mr. Hayes, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, James. How y'all doing?
We're doing fine. I brought Dylan on the show. I found Dylan on Matchmaker FM podcast. It gets a lot of guys that want to be on podcast and uh, they're related to sports or whatever subject it is. So we invited Don on the show. Don, I am sure that you are glad to see that we have an Oklahoma fan in the house.
Hey, Oklahoma, the Sooners, Texas, they're big rivals, but I've actually had friends, relatives play at Oklahoma. Of course, I have connections to Oklahoma State, so it's all good.
Oh yeah, no, I love that rivalry because one thing I've learned, especially Twitter, is like the one place where OU Texas fans don't get along. But I feel like if they meet in real life, I've never met an actual Texas fan that I don't like. So like in person. So there's that.
Wow. Now I can't say that about the Penn State Ohio State rivalry because I've been a lot of Penn States. Well, anyway, that's a different story. But uh, to kind of go on, I'm hoping that we get. Let me tone this down here. Some of the other guys on. I know Demetrius is out of the country. I'm wondering where Bill is. I mean, well, hey, I'm sure he'll hit me up sooner or later. But uh, Dylan, you said that one of the things that you really wanted to talk about was the first thing that I had on the agenda, where there was an interview today with Deion Sanders, And Dion actually said that he thought that the NIL was doing a bit more harm than it was good. And he
Yeah.
cited a couple of things. The first was that now you have kids, actual teenagers in most cases, that are making more money than the coaches.
Yep.
So therefore, they tend to feel entitled, even though they may not know what to do with the money. The fact that some of them are earning more money this season than some of the coaches have earned sometimes throughout their whole career.
Yeah.
Uh, Dion suggested that one of the things that should be done is that perhaps you bring over an advisor for these
Yeah.
kids. Now, I know that sounds good, but Dylan, we have seen, let's think about some other sports here. Uh, Uncle Kyrie, excuse me, not Uncle Kawhi. Yeah, it was
Yep.
Kawhi's uncle. We have seen other family members. We have Lamar Jackson. His mother is his agent. So, what's your thoughts on this whole NIL thing and the, should we say, policing of it, or how uh, the sweat equity here? What's your thoughts on this whole thing?
You know, like most people nowadays, I feel like, when the whole NIL thing was getting started, I was definitely against it just for the fact of, it seemed like everyone else was, right? But now that it's a thing, people kind of have to accept it. Um, I think it coming from Deion Sanders, I think that's a big deal, right? Because the NIL, it does bring a lot of flash to a lot of these big time stars, and when you have prime time saying this stuff, it kind of means a lot, right? Um, but like let's use Texas as an example, Mr. Hayes. Like think about this. I don't know if you've seen, but Bijan Robinson
Yep.
is driving around Austin in a bright green Lamborghini now,
Yes.
right? So it's like you look at that, and it's first, like the policing of it all. I think it's going to get to the point where it's already kind of out of hand, and now the NCAA is saying we're going to come get you, we're going to come get you, But what did they do before this actually was legal? They just gave everyone slaps on the wrist. Now that it is legal, what are they going to do? Just give people slaps on the wrist again? That's just what I could see happening. I'm not sure if I heard something the other day said here in Oklahoma that someone, I forgot who it was, brought up the fact that if these players sign NILs and are making like more than what the actual scholarship they would have gotten is worth, then do they void their scholarship? But then you still think about like they're still technically getting a scholarship, but I doubt that's going to happen because they don't want to spend that money on scholarships, right? Or they want to have that money to do whatever they can. Investing is a big thing, but policing it is going to be kind of impossible with how boosters do things. But you think about how bad it could be for, let's just think about like culture aspects of programs, right? So let's talk about, again, Donald, this is just what's said here in Oklahoma, just because it's OU Texas, right? But there's been a thing saying that this, the culture in Texas really wasn't that great until maybe Sark, trying to turn it around, stuff like that. I don't know what's happening, but if you see Bijan Robinson pulling up into the team parking lot in a Lamborghini, and then these people are getting out of cars that maybe don't even start, half the time, cars they grew up in. And Bijan, from what I can tell, is such a great kid. Like he's a really good guy, But it's just affected like the jealousy factor or some things. You never know how that's going to affect a locker room of, this guy is getting this much money and I'm just in this collective where I'm only getting like 20 grand a year. I don't know. I think there's some good. There was really a lot of good to the NIL whenever it became a thing, and now it's just haywire again in my eyes.
Don?
Absolutely everything Dylan said. And I'll throw this on there. So what we have now, speaking of Texas, freshman wide receiver Xavier Worthy, pretty good. He was probably the best.
Smoked
freshman.
us.
Yeah. But USC tried to poach him. They offered him, close to 7 figures to go to USC, and someone on the Texas staff got word of it, and they contacted some business owners here in Austin, and he's staying. But that's the thing, you're not supposed to poach other kids, but it's going to happen. In this time of social media, the kids talk to each other. They've been on recruiting trips together, and hey, why don't you come to Texas? Or hey, let's go to A&M, or hey, let's meet up at Penn State. I mean, it's going to be the Wild West, and there's absolutely no sheriff in this West we're talking about. Right now, he just left. Jordan Addison, who won the Blitnikoff Award at Pittsburgh, he took a visit to Texas. He's in the transfer portal, and Texas actually hired his receivers coach at Pittsburgh. And guess what? Right now, he's at USC. He just took the flight. So is it going to be Texas? It's going to be USC to get the number 1 receiver in the nation from last year. So let me just say this: just because you sign a letter of intent your freshman year, that could be gone within 3-4 months. The second thing I'll bring up is, and Dylan kind of touched on about the scholarships. Here's a scenario I'm thinking: you give your scholarships away, and you're not that limit with scholarships, but hey, let's go tell this guy, come walk on. We'll pay you $1 million to walk on. There's no, like I said, there's no regulation of that right now. And the NCAA is just kind of dragging their feet on it. And then I've heard another thing that some of the Power 5 conferences might secede from the NCAA and form their own organization where they can do whatever the hell they want to do. So that's going to be a fascinating time in college football coming up.
Well, here's the thing. The NCAA actually doesn't want to be in charge of this. This is why they took it to court to begin with.
Yep.
Because they wanted to say, you schools do what you want to do as long as it doesn't violate the state law, because we are a governing body, but we don't set laws. That's not our job. But on the other hand, you also, the NCAA has been so lax in the way that it has serviced student athletes. I was not one that was against NIL, as you know, Don. But the thing that I dread most is what's coming to fruition, is that it's going to be tied up within lawsuits and litigations, which doesn't make money for anybody but the lawyers. And in the meantime, nothing changes.
Yeah.
The top 1% are going to get the majority of the money, and the other 99% are going to have to fall off into tears. It's just going to be like income brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and here's the other thing, James. So all this is going on where people are bidding high for these players. Look at our national economy. Gas is – I paid $4 for gas today. here in San Antonio. So we got people, $4 a gallon gas, probably going to go higher as time goes on. There's a shortage of baby formula. They're predicting all kinds of food shortages within the next 7-8 months. But yet in college football, we're paying these kids all this money, right? So it makes you wonder. The schools with the big boosters, and I can say Texas has those. Oklahoma, of course. Texas A&M has their nut jobs. LSU.
Come on out
Probably
here.
Georgia and Alabama.
Come on out here now. You got USC and
Yeah,
Lincoln
USC,
Riley.
exactly.
Come on.
That's how we're getting where they are now.
And the economy in California is like ground zero for what's fucked up. I mean, how much is gas in San Diego, James?
$5.58.
Holy shit!
I'm
$5.58.
happy to say it hasn't the best score here. So, God.
So when you were talking about $4, Don, I was kind of chuckling to myself. It was like, yeah, and believe it or not, it's went down for the last month. So,
Bijan's in a Lamborghini. He should be in one of Elon Musk's Teslas there in Austin. They got the Tesla plant there now. So
You think, right? But that's probably we kept him in Texas. Man,
well, that's why he moved to Texas. Certainly that, and there were a couple lawsuits out here in California for discrimination, stuff like that. But definitely
between Tulsa and Austin, and we thought he was going to pick it, but he didn't.
Come on now. I mean, I haven't had a lot of experience in Tulsa, but I have been to Austin. And even Elon, I mean, come on, I don't think there was a lot of choice there.
We tried hard. That's all we did. Hey, we just had a lot of land available for him, and that's why we were number 2. That's it. So
I will say this: Tulsa is my favorite city in Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma City. Yeah.
It has that Arkansas River runs through there. Is the fishing place. You got some rolling hills. It's Eastern Oklahoma is not too bad.
No, man.
But Don, you have to take those interstate highways.
Oh my God. I don't hear the word turnpike in this conversation.
Yeah, turnpike only. No one takes interstates here.
Yeah.
Don is a very big favorite of your roads out there.
So let me explain something to Dylan. My nephew played wide receiver at Oklahoma State.
Oh, okay.
And so we were driving from San Antonio to Stillwater, 4 or 5 times a year.
That's a very long drive. Yeah.
Yeah, and the roads were.
No, you can use that word that you used before. You were so gracious, Don.
Yeah.
What word was that? I can't remember.
Oh, insufferable and tolerable. I mean, those are some of the words that come to my mind, and those are the nice ones.
Well, it's like the highway has that little cheese grate in it everywhere, and usually it's just on the sides in case you decide to run off. But it was like in the middle of the street, so I'm like, wow.
Yeah, they do that to control the speed, like to make sure you're not speeding. Just like little random like speed warnings or something. It's so annoying. I know what you mean.
Dylan, are you a baseball guy at all?
Yeah, I will say that's the one sport I haven't really watched a lot of in the past couple of years. But I try to watch as many Rangers games as I can. But I've been keeping up with it a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. A Rangers fan there. Don, you're Astros fan. You guys kind of stay on different sides here.
Well, I don't even remember this, James, but I was more Rangers than I was ever Astros.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You were who's the president of the Rangers? Is it the Rangers? He's been in baseball for years. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
You're talking about the president? Oh, John J.D. Daniels.
No. Who was it? Don was a big favorite of his even before he took over the Rangers. I think he's a former Rangers player. I'm
Nolan
not
Ryan?
sure. Yeah, Nolan Ryan. Yeah. I know
Oh,
you're a
Nolan
big fan.
Ryan. Oh, okay, yeah.
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 I love
Acting
Nolan
like I don't
Ryan.
even know who that is, right?
uh, yeah, it does get amazing when
Yeah.
we start
I will say
talking.
this, like it's funny how we are kind of opposite, me and Donald here, because he was like more Rangers than Astros, but I have family all out in the Richland Hills area in Houston. So I actually grew up like I liked the Astros, went to so many games, but my dad took me to my first Rangers game because I'm from Shreveport. We're like 3 hours from Texas or from Dallas, so it's like really close. But then I met Pudge Rodriguez, got his autograph, and I just fell in love with the Rangers at that point. So
Yeah, that's. I guess that would definitely be. I'm gonna ask you guys something. We always have marveled at Mike Trout and some of the individual players, but right now the Angels are kind of holding their own. Is it like way too early in the season, or are they legitimate contenders this year?
I'll go ahead and say that they're due, right? They have one of the best, you know, he's considered to be one of the best of all time already in Mike Trout with like his talent level. But then you bring in someone like Shohei Ohtani. I think that's gonna have those two players. That's definitely gonna have people who want to play on that team. I think they're due. I think it is a little early in the season, but they are on a roll right now. They're killing it. That's a team I have been paying attention to because they're in the same division as the Rangers. So it's kind of you know sucks to see, but I'm happy for them. Like I think it is a little too early, but if it's not this year, in the next couple of years, it's going to be their time to where they might replace the Dodgers as one of the best teams in the league.
Ooh, okay. Replacing the Dodgers, out here on the West Coast, that's blasphemy. I mean, that's almost like me wanting the Indians to win the World Series. You don't know about the relationship between me and Clownland yet.
Oh,
Don't.
I know. I actually had my podcast on yesterday with a writer from the Dog Pound Daily because we were doing I have an Oklahoma podcast and we were talking about because the Browns drafted like 3 OU players and we talked about the Brown stuff and he was talking a lot about Pittsburgh and I will say not
Oh
in
man.
great terms. So I kind of
Oh
learned
well,
about that
yeah.
yesterday.
You'll definitely have to give me his info because I would love to have him on the course.
Yeah.
Hey, James, I'm gonna have to slap you on the wrist a little bit. You can't say Indians anymore.
I know.
Oh, you got you. You called on him. You called.
That's
Don,
unwoke right there. You gotta be politically correct. They're no longer the Indians. You can't call them Native Americans. They're the
Guardians. I had to make a public apology, Don, because I had called them the Indians, and of course, you know how I feel about teams from Cleveland anyway. But yeah, I did make a public apology for calling them the Indians, but it might take a little while.
Hey, I still call Washington Redskins. It sticks out all the time. So
Yeah. It's gonna be hard not to call them the Washington football team now because it's been like 2.5 years.
Yeah. How about that? Let's talk some quick NFL, NBA playoffs here. Right now, it looks like this series in Philly might be over. I think the last I saw it, Miami 94, Philly 83, 2 minutes, 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So, now, so let's talk about the games that the other games that are going to be taking place because I guess we've already answered the second question, which was the Heat locked down the Embiid and Harden to take a 3-2 lead, and did I think that this series would cost Doc Rivers his job? What do you guys think about that? Do you think that losing this series will cost Doc Rivers his job? Don, what do you think, Don?
Well, I would hope not, because as you know, I've been a Doc Rivers fan. I know that he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think I think he's good for the people he's around. But the only thing with Doc Rivers is that he demands a certain type of player, and you need to get with this program, and if not, you need to go somewhere else. But like I said, I've always been a Doc Rivers fan. I know not everyone is, but I would hate to see him go to playoffs and have a good show and then get fired for not advancing. I mean, there's some good teams out there, so that's just the way I'm kind of leaning on that.
Yeah, I don't believe that Doc should lose his job. But Dylan, what's your take on the 76ers as they are going to get bounced out tonight?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't think he should lose his job. Well, because you have someone like Harden come in halfway through the season, you're going to have to at least give it a full year to try to implement something, right? And what Donald said is 100% correct. And he's honestly not a player's coach, if that makes sense. Like, I'm sure players love him, but he does demand a certain type of excellence from his players, right? And what he had in Boston when he won that championship was, that's probably, it technically happens still, getting those star players, but having those star players that are so cohesive, like, they might not have had the best relationships, but they played really well together. You might need to give Harden and Embiid, and maybe, mix in Danny Green there a little bit and give them more time to mesh and see what they can do in a full year instead of a half a season. So I definitely don't think that if they fire him, that's going to be a huge mistake, because if you can have those two players with Doc Rivers and if they can really coincide and work really well, then it can be a dangerous team for sure.
You see, you bring in an old, inconsistent shooter for a guy that can't shoot, and you expect him to be able to make this transition. I have always believed that a coach is only as good as the players that you give him. If you give a coach B League players, it's unrealistic for you to think that he's going to make championship players out of these guys. Especially when what you need to do if you're a Doc, and he has been doing it. If you look at the young players, Maxey, Harris, those are the guys that you have to develop around Embiid. Harden is not, the days of him giving you 30 points, 28 points a night, those days are over. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but, right now, if your name is not LeBron James or Tom Brady, the fountain of youth is not in your backyard. But now we have a second game coming up tonight. Don, the Mavericks. They've been able to give Phoenix all that they can handle.
Yeah.
Chris Paul, one of your favorite guys, Don, has been kind of, I don't want to, well, one game, did he show up? He had more fouls than he had points, didn't he? I mean, but what do you think tonight? Is Phoenix going to follow in the path of the Heat and close this out, or is it going to go as it has been, home?
All year, Phoenix and Dallas, that's been most watched TV. They put on, they've had a good, they've had good contests throughout the year, back and forth. I know sometimes there's teams you play that just brings out your best, and you fight a little bit harder. And it's a dogfight when Phoenix and Dallas get together. I think Phoenix will eventually put them away. If it goes to another game, I don't know. But if I were in Vegas, I would roll my money on Phoenix in the long run. But yeah, I think it's gonna be tooth and nail. It might go overtime. Who knows?
Don, I'm going to tell you something about Vegas. I just came back. I was there. I was there all last week for the fight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
And when you talk about putting your money down, everybody this weekend put their money down on Canelo. Very, very interesting story.
It would have been a smart choice at the time, right?
Well, I was talking to some people that were sitting beside me on the plane, and the young lady says, "Well, I'm going to put my money on Canelo because Canelo really knows how to pick his fighters. I mean, his opponents."
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her, and on my other show, I do a boxing show on Tuesday. Last year, I said that there were two fighters that Canelo should avoid. One was Bivol, the other was Benavidez, because Benavidez is trained by my good friend John Scully. So anyway, so I had kind of predicted this, but I went to the weigh-in on Friday, and there was sombreros and Mexican flags and mariachis, and Las Vegas was full of Mexican celebrations and the weigh-in, of course,
kind of like San Antonio.
right. The weigh-in, it had to be at least, and put it mildly, I would say 75 to 25, the crowd there. So, as expected, we had the presser, and like I said, big celebrations, this and that. So, Saturday after the fight, Las Vegas was the quietest on the strip that I have ever seen since the pandemic. I, there were a few, Russian parties, run up and down, but I mean, you can imagine it went from a fiesta to where's everybody at? It was, it was amazing, but so. Yeah, be careful when you go to Vegas where you put your money at. Don't always put it on the favorite there. But yeah, how do you see this? Do the Suns take them out tonight? Or like I said, right now everybody's holding serve. Home.
You would think, right? But at this point, this late in the series, this is where the best team is going to show itself, right? This late in the series, even if it's a home field advantage, or I'm sorry, home court advantage for the Mavericks. And what Donald said is like Mavericks are feisty, but from what I've seen, I thought the Mavericks were going to come in and really give them trouble just because the Mavericks have a really good defense, right? But then you have Luka on the offensive end, but you really can't get too far when it's just him, right? I think the Suns take him out. I really do. I hope they do. I like the Mavericks, but Chris Paul, I'm a Thunder fan, all right? So Chris Paul brought us so much joy when we thought we were going to be the worst team in the league that one season he was there. So I just need Chris Paul to win a ring. So at this point, I think the Suns are going to prevail as the best team and hopefully kind of get their stuff together, to be able to move on to the next round. And, if they're going to have to go up against probably Golden State, they're definitely going to have to bring their A game for sure. If, Chris Paul's got to stay healthy, but I think the Suns take him out tonight.
We'll see. If Dinwiddie shows up, we could have a different. Yeah. We could go for a game 7. But I'm glad you brought up Golden State because yes, I'm kind of closet Golden State fan. I would love to see them get back to the finals. But Dylan, at one point, they were losing by 55 points. I mean, Golden State, 55 points.
Without Ja Morant.
Right. So what's your thoughts here? I mean, does Golden State, I mean, hey, we've been champions before. We throw this, I mean, come on, Draymond Green is out there celebrating with the crowd, whip that trick, but he made a good point. He says, like, hey, if you talk smack and then you get your ass beat, you still have to own the fact that you talked smack before that game. Dylan, what's your thoughts on the 39-point beatdown, and then Draymond taking responsibility for his actions? Yeah, I got
Well,
beat.
let's start with Draymond. Draymond, I think a lot of people don't like him, right? Like when he kicked Steven Adams in the gonads back in the Western Conference Finals a while back, he was the most hated person here in Oklahoma, 100%, right? But Draymond is the guy who, as you said, he talks the talk, but then he's also going to walk the walk, but he's also not going to give what he can't take, right? And with Draymond, I think one thing we love about him, right, is he's not the biggest guy, but he's one of the best defenders. He has that feistiness to him. So we all love Draymond, but he's gonna give it, but he can also take it as well. That's one thing I like about him. But those Grizzlies, I don't know if John Morant just if him being injured is giving them just this motivation, but that game, like, holy cow! I mean, it wasn't even like just like it was just I don't know how to explain it besides it was just an ass kicking, like on all aspects of basketball.
Seven guys scored 20 points or more.
Yeah. And 18 threes. That's I think I saw it was a franchise record for him. Like they literally swapped like stats, it seemed like, that they were Golden State hitting all these threes. I don't think it lasts. I think that really kicks Golden State and wakes them up a little bit. I think Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, I think, is probably due for one of those big playoff games he usually has to kind of close out these series. But it was nothing other than the fact that it was just a complete ass kicking, and Draymond, he admits to it. He's like, hey, I was talking trash. Got our ass handed to us. I think when that happens to Golden State, they're going to come back and give it right back for sure.
What do you think, Don?
Yeah, Golden State just has too many weapons. I know that the Grizzlies they struck lightning once and did it twice. I don't know. I remember back in the '80s, the Celtics, led by Larry Bird, took on Magic Johnson's Lakers, and I remember in the championship series, one game, the Celtics just mopped the floor with the Lakers. I mean, Bird was hitting threes, Ainge was hitting threes. I mean, Robert Maxwell was doing great things. Parrish. I mean, everyone was scoring, right? And I said, well, Celtics, they're going to take this series. Not so fast. I mean, Los Angeles came back, won 2 straight, and then they went to the 7 game. They went to 7 games, but LA ended up winning the series. But if you take it by that second game they played, you thought the Celtics were going to walk away with it. So I think Golden State will be awoken from their sleep to quote like Admiral Yamato after Pearl Harbor, we've wakened the sleeping giant. So maybe that was their Pearl Harbor, but I think the Grizzlies might be in for a rude awakening next game.
For sure. And one thing, James, I noticed when I was looking at the stat line earlier today was because honestly, it was kind of hard to watch the stat line during that game because of how bad it was. But Golden State, they usually have they're like the best third quarter team for the past like 10 years. They've been like the best third quarter team. The Grizzlies held them to 17 points in the third quarter. If you do that to Golden State, because they always start off hot outside of halftime, you can hold Golden State and pretty much minimize their shot selection right after halftime and not let them get in that groove, then you have a chance to beat them if you keep it close at halftime for sure.
Yeah, it was kind of it was hard to watch. I'll be when I think it was when they were 55 points ahead or something like that. I just kind of turned it off and went on to the next one. I mean, at some point, when there's not that many threes to catch up and to see that happen. But like I said, it might have been a wake up call, but as everyone knows, in sports, sometimes a team just has that night, and 18 threes. So hey. Uh, I think that the big thing is that yes, we were used to seeing it on the other side.
For sure.
Well, guys, it's happened. 5 o'clock today, the NFL schedules were announced. Of course, we did have a few little leaks here and there. Not quite as big as the Supreme Court one, but we did have a couple leaks today, a few yesterday. Uh, so certain teams, we knew that certain teams were going to be playing certain teams. Uh, I can't wait for Mike to get in here. But so Dylan, what's your who's your team?
New Orleans Saints.
Oh, okay, all right. Let's see. We got a Saints fan, a Colts fan. Uh, I think we have. Let's see who else is here. Lions fan, and Donna. I'm not really sure where you stand on these Cowboys here, but what did you think about the Cowboys draft?
The
You
draft.
know,
I was talking to Don.
Oh yeah, I'll just make sure I heard right. I wanted to make sure I heard that right. Sorry.
you asked me about what them at the draft.
Yeah.
I actually, a lot of people were not impressed by what Dallas did, but the fact that Jerry Jones didn't go chasing after the bright, shiny object like he has in the past, I think they addressed their needs. And so I give it a solid B for Jerry Jones. I don't know if he was sober on draft day. I don't know if he decided to take advice from professionals, but he didn't make a total ass of himself. So I think that's a good sign of progress, a sign of growth, personal growth for Jerry Jones.
uh, and what did you think about your team's draft there, Dylan? The Saints.
A lot of people, like experts, on the television, or they were kind of dogging on the Saints in their draft. But I think it was like the late ends of the draft, But I think we did address our main two concerns. I like the fact that we traded up to get Chris Olave from Ohio State. It's a great pickup. Like, don't get me wrong, pickup for us because you're going to have Mike Thomas and then Chris Olave on the pursuing Landry right now. So if we can get those three, I think that James is going to be great. But that pickup was great. But then picking up, I think, what was it, Pennington or something like that, a left guard out of Northern Iowa with our second first-round pick. We addressed our two main concerns, but everything else just kind of seemed like we the best available. It makes sense. So, like we definitely could have used a little bit more depth at the defensive line position for sure, but I don't think we really addressed it that much. But he gave the Cowboys a B. Now, I'll give him a C for at least filling the two main holes and then really not doing too much more because we did trade away. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? Trade away a lot of picks to get Chris Olave.
What are your thoughts on your upcoming team situation as far as quarterback and Alvin Kamara?
See, I don't even know what's happening with the the Alvin Kamara thing, right? Like, apparently he's he still could be in some trouble, but nothing's really ever come out of that since. So I'm just going to assume he's going to be on the field, which if he is, that automatically makes the Saints a threat, But I'm extremely happy. Like we just keep Jameis Winston. It's weird to say, right? But the passion the dude has for the game, it's pretty much unmatched. Like he has a lot of weird antics. I don't know if you guys have seen like his training videos or anything like, but I think Jameis Winston is the quarterback for us. You know, he was having a great year before he tore his ACL, right? And he didn't get to choose, or he didn't get the chance to show everybody that I think that year behind Drew Brees was extremely helping him. So I think Jameis is going to come back out and continue what he was doing last year. He hurt his knee for sure.
Now, I'm sure that me and Don both would like to know the secret of your success against TB12.
Yeah, man. I will say this. I don't know if there's success, but like I don't know if there's a secret to it, right? But the defense, and I'm going to single out one player, and that's DeMarco. Oh my gosh, not DeMarco Murray. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Linebacker. Demario Davis. He is. It seems like whenever he plays the Buccaneers and the Panthers, he just lights it up, right? But I think a big thing about us and the way our defense is set with who's now our head coach, Dennis Allen. I think he has to see well. And Tom, to have trouble with Dennis Allen, which is why I was really happy they hired him as the head coach. So hopefully that works out. We're start season week 2 against the Buccaneers as our home opener. So we'll see.
Well,
I think Dennis Allen.
You can pull up your schedule while we talk to Don. I said you can pull up your schedule while we talk to Don. Don, NFC North. NFC East, or as a lot of pundits call it, NFC Least. Have the Eagles caught up with you guys, Don? I mean, look at the moves that the Eagles made. Most pundits give the Cowboys a C minus in their draft, but when you look at the moves that the Eagles have made, what do you think should is it no longer that walkover division? Excuse me, for the Cowboys.
Well, I don't know if it was ever a walkover division for the Cowboys in recent years. I mean, I appreciate your take on that, but I don't know. But yeah, I think, like I said, I gave the Cowboys a solid B on their draft. They got their lineman that they needed, the tackle from Tulsa that Dylan probably knows, and they shored up their defense, which is what they should have done. So I'm giving them a B. Now, Philadelphia, on the other hand. Philadelphia is going to be better because, let's face it, they have to be better than they were last year. I mean, that's just, statistically speaking, they have a lot of room to grow, and I think they will. I mean, I like Jalen Hurts as as a quarterback. The fact that he was the leading rusher is not a good sign. But I think they helped themselves in the draft, and I expect them, and I think the Giants will be a lot better too. So I think it's going to be a fun division to watch.
Do you think that they split with the Cowboys, or do you think it's a sweep?
No, I don't see anyone sweeping that when they play. They'll probably Philadelphia will probably win in Dallas, and Dallas will probably win in Philadelphia because that's the way it goes.
Okay. Did you get a chance to look at your schedule, Don?
I did not.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'll let you look at the schedule, and I'll talk to Dylan about his schedule.
Yeah, can you
Don't
hear
know.
me better? It seemed like you might not have been able to hear me earlier.
We can hear you
Okay,
fine.
perfect.
So I'm gonna pull up the Saints schedule here.
Yeah.
Let me go back to where it's easier for me. I think the ESPN might be better. Let's hope that they pull out the
Yeah,
full
ESPN's got a really
schedule.
good layout for it.
Okay, all right, good. So let's pull up your Saints schedule here first, and going down here. Let's see. You open up with the Falcons. Unfortunately, our Falcon fan isn't here. Then you play the Buccaneers, the Panthers. Let's see. Where's your bye week?
Oh, dude, it's week 14. We
Okay.
are going to be beat up.
Yeah, usually you guys get an early bye week, but so by week 14, you're going to have played. Let's see, just about everyone at least once. The only who's
In the
left for
division,
you?
yeah.
Who's left for you after?
After the bye week, we start off again with Atlanta at home, and then we got Cleveland, at Philly, and then we finish off at home against Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are your thoughts on your first 8 game? Well, let's see, it's a 17-game season. So, what's your thought on your first 9 games here? 8 games.
We have a lot of you're playing at Atlanta. You don't know. I don't know what Atlanta's going to be right without Matt Ryan, because when we had Matt Ryan, we knew what we were going to be getting into as Saints fans, right? But now you have Marcus Mariota. They don't have their leading receiver at that point now with Calvin Ridley out for the rest of the year. So I think that's a win. I think we still keep the dominance over Tampa Bay, 3-0. But I think it's once we get to probably Minnesota. We always seem to have some problems with Minnesota, but it is a Monday night game, I think. No, I'm sorry, Sunday night game. And I think Kirk Cousins, the quarterback for the Vikings, he has – I don't know if you guys heard this stat, but he's like definitely over 10 games. He's like 0 and something in the teens in primetime games in his career. So that could be another win. So I could see us starting off about 4-0, probably going about, I don't know, let's go 6-2 to be optimistic, maybe. I don't know. We feel really good about this with the defense that we have coming back, keeping the defensive coordinator as the head coach now, and then hopefully with the deep threat of Chris Olave, maybe he can step in and give us something like Jamar Chase, something like that. I don't know, but we're very optimistic as Saints fans this year.
You mentioned Jamar Chase. You played the Bengals, then the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Ravens, my Steelers, and the Rams, all in that stretch there. And then the 49ers and the Buccaneers again. Pretty rough
and what's
schedule.
What's going to suck is that's going to be, since our bye week is so late, probably around that Baltimore-Pittsburgh game is when we're probably going to start having a lot of nicks and knacks, injuries, stuff like that. But then once we get to the Rams, 49ers, and Tampa, when we have that bye week, I don't know, we might be pretty beat up by then.
Yeah, I was definitely checking that out. Now, Donna, looking at your schedule on the other hand here, let's see. Now, you start out with the Buccaneers and the Bengals, but then you play the Giants, the Commanders, then the Rams, the Eagles, the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings. Don, what are your thoughts on your opening schedule?
All right. Tampa Bay, that's a loss. Cincinnati, that's a loss. New York, that's a win. Washington, that's a win. Los Angeles, that's a loss. Philadelphia. It's at Philadelphia. We'll probably beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia. They'll beat us in Dallas. That's the way it goes. Detroit. Where's Demetrius when we need him? I think Detroit's going to be a loss. In Chicago, that should be a win. Then we have the bye week.
So you think that what gives you the why do you think what have the Lions done that makes you think that they're going to beat Michael Parsons and that Dallas defense?
Well, I just think the way Detroit has drafted, they like we've had this discussion with Demetrius before. They're putting together a good team there. In the fact that that's the 7th week, I think they're going to start gelling. That's about the time of the year that they're going to start playing good football. So I think that'll be like a mild upset, to be honest.
Mike, Don, you mentioned Jerry's growth with the draft. But does that make Mike McCarthy the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys this year?
I think if they just let McCarthy coach and let him make decisions, personnel and all that, let him be the professional, I think that Dallas will be a playoff team and they'll probably win the first 2 playoff games. Now, is Jerry Jones will let him coach and let him do what he has to do? We'll see. But the fact that they went out and got themselves a solid offensive lineman in the first round and then go after the best receiver available or the best running back available tells me that he's probably letting McCarthy make some of those decisions anyway.
Let me see. I think.
Can I ask Donald something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
This is just something I ask all Cowboys fans, right? Because, this is just like honestly like a thing from where I'm from, because I get mixed messages about this. How do you feel like about Dak Prescott as a quarterback right now?
I like Dak. I do. I think there's a lot of pressure on him because just being the Cowboys, the starting quarterback for Dallas Cowboys, it's a lot of pressure. I think he and I catch a lot of flack for this. I think he has improvement over Romo. But
yeah,
I don't think he's the quarterback that's going to take. He's not going to go to the Super Bowl. And Cowboy fans, they're delusional. They're like, let me be honest. Dallas Cowboy fans are like Texas Longhorn fans. They're delusional.
I thought you were going to throw it in our face and talk about OU fans. I thought that's where I was going.
OU's legit. The other team that's more delusional than Texas fans or Texas A&M fans, they're delusional as hell.
Okay,
too.
I'll join you on that because they're not fans. That's a whole cult. That's like a cult.
Oh yeah. It's you got to have an initiation to get in that shit. But
yeah,
but yeah, I like Dak, and he's a 1 or 2 playoff team type of quarterback. I don't know if he is the guy that's going to take him to the Super Bowl.
The reason I ask is just because I'm a fan of him, just because I'm biased because he's actually from across town where I'm from. He actually
he's Louisiana.
Yeah, no, he played at Houghton High School, which is like a 25-minute drive from Denton High School where I went. That was actually our arch rivals, and he murdered us every game. So, but he's a really nice guy from what I've gathered. Really,
yeah. I remember.
So I like him a lot. So I always just ask everyone, like Cowboys fans, because I seem to get a mixed response from that.
No, I like Dak. You're right. What I like about Dak is when he was drafted, a lot of these young guys, they go to the titty bars and they're throwing money around and all that, to celebrate being drafted. Dak Prescott got in his truck, packed his fishing poles, went fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the way I would probably celebrate being drafted.
And to be honest, that's the most Houghton, Louisiana thing I could think of is you do something great, you go fishing. It makes a lot of sense.
You could draw a circle, East Texas, like Sam Rayburn Reservoir and Caddo Lake, and go all the way to Louisiana,
Yep.
make it like big football. That's that's fishing heaven right there.
It is. Sportsman's paradise, man.
Yep.
James, we got on a tangent, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh no problem. It seems like Bill and Mike didn't get the link, so I sent them the link while you guys were talking about it.
Hey James, how can we never discuss professional bass fishing on this show?
Yeah. What's up with that, man?
Oh man, probably right. You know,
We're not going to talk about Kevin Van Dam or anything like that,
we don't probably get that far down. We have mentioned the College World Series a couple of times, but no, we haven't mentioned bass fishing, and I don't know.
Soccer.
I'll say this, James. Do you ever have a chance to go to a professional fishing league, tournament, somewhere around you ever? You should go, because Bassmaster came to Shreveport one time, and everyone and their mother went to that, and it was the coolest thing in the world. Even though it sounds pretty lame, it was actually pretty cool.
Listen, me and when I go fishing, I try to sign a contract with the fish. My purpose of coming is to drown worms. I do not want to catch anything. I just want to sit back, listen to my music, kick my heels up, and relax. I don't want to go through the deal. Look, when I was a little kid, I caught the record carp in our little
nice
lake there, but carps are bottom feeders. The fish was actually bigger than I was. I was 12 years old. I think the fish weighed like 28 pounds or something like that. So a guy about Don's age had to come and help me bring the damn fish in. But I go, like I said, I go to relax. I don't, I'm good with the fish. Now if I catch see, that's another thing. I'm a chef. So if I catch the fish, that means I got to eat the fish. That means I got to clean them. I got to scale. This is a day of relaxation, So, I try to make it a good day for everyone except for the worm.
Oh, you just need to get a pontoon boat, dude, and just float on the water. That's all you got to do.
I'm in California. I got the Pacific Ocean out here. I don't.
Oh.
I try not to do too much.
I forgot you're Mr. Fancy with the ocean.
Yeah. So there are things out there sometimes under there that are bigger than I am. But
that's true.
Even here in San Diego. But Don, with all of your time, do you ever have time to fish?
I do. We have a little lake here in San Antonio called Calaveras, which is it's one of these lakes that was built to cool down the turbines at a coal plant where they produce electricity. And so we actually have redfish. We have the bass are huge. There's some channel cats that are huge. When I was in high school, we'd go after football practice. We would, weekends, we'd go down and throw our lines out. I lived on the Guadalupe River outside Seguin growing up. And I remember before we got on the bus, my dad and my brother and I, we'd go set trot lines. And then when we got off the bus, we'd go check the trot lines. We'd take the fish off, a bunch of catfish. Dad would clean them, and we'd put them in freezer bags and put them in the freezer. And we had catfish probably 3 nights a week during the summer. We had so much fish we were giving away. Invite them, hey, want a bag of catfish? They're filleted. Okay. So, I love the fish.
Yeah, if you go to all, if you fillet them and all that and give them to me, I'm definitely going to, but, I remember, going through the process of skinning the catfish and then cutting it into fillets, and, but then, as a lot of people know, being a chef, I got to fillet some very good fish. I like, redfish, Dover sole, all different kinds of fish. So it's I do know about the production of fish. It's like I said, when I go fishing, it's a relaxing day.
Hey, did I ever tell you about my girlfriend's uncle? My
No.
my my girlfriend she's half Japanese, and her mom grew up in Kobe, Japan during World War II.
Oh,
But before the war, her uncle was a Japanese chef, and he was cooking that fish that if you don't cook it right or cut it right,
Blowfish. Blowfish.
yeah, it'll kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he died of, I think it's called fugu, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
And
other fish.
it's a puffer. It's a puffer fish.
Yes,
Yeah, and you have to cut that. Yeah.
it's a delicacy. But if you don't
Well,
cut it,
wow.
yeah,
it'll kill you.
it's a delicacy if you survive it. If you don't survive it, so yeah.
So anyway, my girlfriend's uncle, of course, he died before she was born, but he died before World War II. He died of eating the wrong part of that damn fish.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they say that's a very agonizing death,
Yeah.
by poisoning like that. So
Yeah. So
What's it called?
I think it's called fugu.
Fugu.
FUG.
Okay, I would pray because I eat a lot of sushi. I pray they don't serve that here in the States because I
Well,
usually
they-
look
they-
at the menu.
you
Huh?
you have to ask for it. It's a specialty. It's something
Okay,
that you have
good
to
because I'm
ask.
never going
First
to
of
order
all-
that in my life.
And usually it's a very high end.
Yes, it's
Japanese,
expensive as
right?
hell.
Yeah. It's
Good. If it's expensive, I can't afford it, so I'm not
Yeah,
ordering it.
yeah.
That's great. All right.
You actually pay someone to assassinate you. So
Yeah, it's kind of like that coffee that's real expensive. That the monkey shit.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's like the most expensive coffee in the world,
Yeah.
and it comes out of monkey's ass.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know about that too.
Mike comes in. First thing he says is, "Oh, I know about the monkey shit coffee." Yeah.
I know about that monkey shit.
So I'm drinking my Juan Valdez whatever he drink Folgers, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Colombian roast. I'm not eating monkey shit.
Good thing for me is I can't drink coffee. Coffee puts me to sleep. It's like right away. I can drink a cup of coffee and be asleep. And do a bill right there, right here in the program. But
Wow.
Mike, glad to have you here today.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm just gonna toss it right out there, Mike. How did you guys get the fifth easiest schedule, according to experts?
Well, it's about damn time. I mean, our schedule has been just horrific tough for the last 3 or 4 years. So,
Mike, all you had to do was beat the last place team last year and get into playoffs. I don't want to hear about how tough your schedule was. Come on now. You had to win one game, Mike. One game to get in the playoffs.
I think that Jacksonville game and the 1994 AFC Championship game with when they played the Steelers and Jim Harbaugh threw up that Hail Mary and Aaron Bailey had it in his lap to win the game and drop the ball are going to be the worst nightmares. And against the Steelers too, man. Come on, like the Steelers, they own the Colts, they own the Raiders. I mean, come on, give us a break at least.
But it is interesting, Mike. And I guess it's an indictment on the NFC least that they're the only 4 teams that are ranked above you, and they all play each other twice. So it's
I like that.
But we are going to be rivals on more than just the show. At least one week this year. What week is that?
Don't know. Let me see real quick.
I was having everybody pull up their team schedule.
The 20th, the 28th, November 28th, week 12.
Now, Mike, there are even though don't you guys? Is it you guys? No, let's see. There's a couple 50-year transitions this year. Let's see. One I believe is the 50th anniversary of the Dolphins' undefeated team,
72. Yeah, that would make sense.
and the other is the Immaculate Reception, right?
We don't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
We don't talk about that. That ball hit the turf. That never. Franco Harris never caught that ball. Never, not once. Nope. I refuse to believe that whatsoever. That and then plus it was hit off the Steelers receiver first because back then.
Richie Fuqua.
Yeah, Fuqua. Yeah, Jack Tatum. Back then, the two players couldn't maintain possession, so hitting it off Fuqua there, that was an incomplete pass according to the NFL rules at that time. So Franco Harris didn't catch the ball. It bounced off Fuqua. The referees were it was rigged. It was rigged. It was played in Three Rivers. Total rigged situation.
I applaud you, Mike. But Mike, Mr. Scott's not here. I sent Bill the link. I'm not sure what happened to Bill. Usually I hear from Bill long before this. But we know Demetrius is out of town.
Right.
Dylan is joining us. He's a Saints fan.
Oh, okay.
So, do you have any questions for our first-time visitor here, Mr. Marsh?
Oh, sure. Saints fan. That's pretty. I feel sorry for you, but outside of that,
Appreciate you, buddy. We've had a lot of heart.
How do you think you guys are going to work around sort of the salary cap the next few years to be sort of successful and good draft? I think Chris Olave should be an excellent addition to your team, but is Michael Thomas? Are you worried about that? And overall, how's this offense going to look?
Well, first off, I'm going to address what you first said. Who the hell knows how we always get around the salary cap thing? I don't know how Mickey Loomis went from, was it like 50 million over to salary cap, and now we're like 16 under.
It's amazing how that works.
I don't know how he just maneuvers these contracts. He just calls every single person on the roster and is like, "Hey, can I put like $15 million of signing bonus and give you a $15 million check right now?" And they're like, "Sure," and they just go on with it. I don't know. I don't know if that's just what he does, but I am damn sure happy we have Mickey Loomis to figure that out. So I just give it all to him. He knows how to manipulate the rules of these contracts for sure. But yeah, I was telling him earlier before you hopped on. I think he was asking me how the Saints did in the draft. I think Chris Olave, having him and Mike Thomas on each side of the field, I think is definitely good. Because Mike Thomas is the king of the slant route. But Chris Olave is definitely going to bring that speed. I think is going to counterbalance that a lot. And I was telling them, like, I'm praying that it's between the Ravens and the Saints that Jarvis Landry comes in. And if we have Jarvis Landry in the slot position with those three receivers, I think that's going to give Jameis a lot of help, because that was our big issue last year was we really had no receivers since Michael Thomas was out. So I think we're due. I was telling him I think we're due for a big year this year with the defense and Dennis Allen staying, the defensive coordinator as the head coach. I think we're due for a big year.
Are you worried? I mean, I'm sure you are, but what's the solution if Alvin Kamara is out, whatever, due to this situation there?
Yeah, and I was telling them, I haven't heard anything about that really. To be honest, I haven't been researching it. But have you heard anything? I haven't even heard if anything's happening. He's not suspended really or anything. I don't think he's on the exemption list.
I don't think so either.
I don't know. I feel like it might be one of those things to where it might have just gotten swept under the rug.
I don't think
like that seems happen.
I don't think you can get swept under the rug. There'll have to be some type of announcement, just because of the current climate. It won't be swept under the rug.
But there's no outcry because you have I think a lot of this is Deshaun Watson, and that's the big focus. And then now you have Jerry Jeudy, situation. So it almost, it's like, people forget, like Alvin Kamara, unless you're really on top of it, I forget sometimes. And then in the drafts and stuff, I'm like mock drafting, and I'm like, why is Alvin Kamara, still here at the 215? And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably because of this. So yeah, it's not on people's minds at all.
I'm looking it up. You guys keep talking.
You got anything for Don and the Cowboys schedule there, Mike?
I haven't looked at the Cowboys schedule, but let's see. Do you think putting the fan hat off, taking the fan hat off, do you think the Cowboys are going to repeat NFC East champions?
I'm gonna, of course, we're so far away from the season. I'm gonna say yes, but I think it's gonna be a rough ride for the Cowboys. I think they'll do good in their division. Outside their division, not so much. I looked at the schedule, and first 9 games, I saw four pretty sure losses. But I've been wrong before. I mean, it's very possible they could go, 7-2 or 8-1 in that 9-game series. But I think they're going to lose their they'll lose their opener. But
who are they playing in the opening game?
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I could see them winning though too. I mean,
well, it just depends which team shows up.
Yeah, right.
The Cowboys, a few years ago, 6-7 years ago, they had probably the best offensive line in football, and now they can't block. I mean, there's a reason that Dak Prescott got hurt. I mean, it's he's running for his life half the time. So I think they took a good step in this draft, getting some solid offensive linemen, but through free agency as well. But it's all done in the trenches, and the Cowboys took some steps to alleviate that. So if these guys can come through, first-year players, I like their shot. But as a rule of thumb, I don't put a lot of faith in first-year players. So
yeah, me neither. It's a tough situation.
If it happens, it's great. It's like
sure, yeah,
but.
Right. Like, I mean, when the Colts with Darius Leonard, and we're like, okay, but then all of a sudden he's just great, so you take it. But you don't expect that walking in that they're going to be so wonderful as players. What about the departure of La'el Collins? Is that something that's going to worry you a little bit?
The who?
La'el Collins leaving to Cincinnati.
That is a cause of concern, but I think it's going to be addressed, in training camp. But yeah, that's a tough one.
What about Ezekiel Elliott?
It would not surprise me to see him in another uniform pretty soon. I mean, Cowboys, they really don't establish the running game like they used to back in the day of, Dorsett and Smith, even DeMarco Murray a few years ago. But I think Elliott is on the downside of his career. I think they got some fresh guys that they can come in and play. One thing that bothered me about Zeke last year is like late in the season, he was dropping passes. He used to be pretty good, little receiver at the backfield, but he was dropping some, and
right.
He just didn't have that get up and go that he used to have.
Mm-hmm.
So Don, are you saying that Tony Pollard is going to have 6 touchdowns this year or more?
Hey, that kid's a player. I like him.
We all know he's been a player, but it's Tony gets the first 80 yards, and then Zeke gets the next 20.
Yeah.
I got to ask you guys, and you mentioned it earlier, Dylan, at least one of them, but we have 3 wide receivers that as of now do not have a home. They're free agents. OBJ, of course, we know that most it'll be, after the season will probably be started because he'll just be rehabbing from his surgery. So we kind of understand the OBJ uh, circumstance. Then you have Julio, who's kind of long on the tooth, of course. And as uh, Dylan mentioned, Jarvis Landry. Uh, who do you think is going to be signed here? Do you think two of them will be signed? All three of them will be signed? Uh, Dylan, since you mentioned it, what's your take? You mentioned your Saints trying to sign Landry.
Yeah, no, I think Landry is going to be the first receiver out of those three signed for sure because it's really the two teams are New Orleans and the Ravens, but I think I'm going to be honest. I think the Ravens signing, right? But they're just New Orleans seems just to be in the mix because it's his home state, all that stuff as well. But he's definitely going to be one of the first receivers signed because, like you said, Julio's definitely past his prime for sure. He can still be effective, right? But he's just not what he was. And then OBJ, I don't think he'll get signed until once he's pretty much clear to play. If that makes sense. The teams are going to want to see what he can do. I don't see why teams would sign him so early on in his rehab process for sure.
What do you think there, Mike?
I mean, I didn't think of Jarvis Landry to the Saints, but I like it. I think that's somewhere where he could land some. I mean, he's not going to get a huge contract, so going to somewhere like the Saints would make sense to me. OBJ, I think, is going to stay with the Rams, and Julio signed somewhere. So yeah, I think all three will sign somewhere. If I had to take a shot at who wouldn't be signed, it would probably be Julio Jones.
What's your thoughts on that, Don? You guys gave up Landry, even though he was your leading wide receiver. But what's your thoughts there?
Well, I think Mike's right. I think OBJ stays with the Rams. I think Julio would be great for a team like the Texans that could use some veteran leadership. I always like Julio. I mean, yeah, he's long on the tooth, but I think he still has a few productive seasons. And let's just face it, the Texans are in a bad position, and they could use a seasoned veteran like Julio.
And they have plenty of salary cap to give him a good contract for sure.
For sure. So, I like to see him go to a team that could utilize his talents for sure.
Mike, what did you think about the Pats trade of Jarret Stidham to the Raiders?
Well, I think they need a backup. I mean, Derek Carr's not going to go anywhere, especially after signing, I don't remember how many years, 3, 4, 5, whatever it was, and a hell of a lot of money. So Jarret Stidham was been the backup with New England. He'll continue to be the backup in Las Vegas.
What did you think about the Pats draft grade, Dylan?
To be honest, I would try my best not to pay attention to the Patriots. But my brother, who I love so very, very much, is probably one of the biggest Patriot fans you ever meet. So, of course, I hear about it. So, from what I gathered from them was they were pissed that they passed up the Kobe Dean, at the the end of the first or second round. I can't remember which one it was, but the Kobe Dean was right there, and they passed them up. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not exactly sure who the Patriots really drafted. I can't really give you a grade, but if I'm gonna have to guess, man, I'm gonna say a B at least because it's Bill Belichick. So
they got ripped pretty hard for their draft picks.
Actually, did they get a D- or did they really get an F?
I think it depends on who you looked at as grading, but overall, they were they weren't very high at all. They were one of the worst teams with the draft picks overall.
Well, James, can I ask a question about your first one there with Jarret Stidham?
Yeah.
Brought up by my brother. Why? What's the reasoning for trading Stidham there to get some draft picks? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was draft
But
picks.
he threw it out there. Bill's been known to kind of take chances on some quarterbacks and kind of have a little quarterback battle. He did it with Cam Newton.
Yep.
What's going to stop him from making room to bring in Baker Mayfield to see who they would want to start? And then, they don't ever really keep those superstars but big time names as backups. But just to see what he could do. What are the odds of you guys thinking that might happen?
Well, we have a Baker Mayfield question here.
Well, I'm an Oklahoma fan, dude. I got to talk about it, right?
Oh my goodness. Okay. What are your thoughts on the Baker Mayfield situation there, Mike? I mean, hey, he's any team right now, as far as I'm concerned. The draft's passed, so I think the Browns getting any value for Baker Mayfield, the chances are slim to none. I mean, why would you make a deal for Baker when you know that Cleveland is not going to carry 4 quarterbacks? It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make good for financial reasons, especially what Baker Mayfield is due. So why not wait until they cut him, pick him up, and let Cleveland pay for it? Mike?
Yeah. I think that's probably where they're headed. But I also do believe that there's that clause with Deshaun Watson and not paying him anything if he's out for the season. So I think they're just waiting and seeing what ruling that comes down with, and if it's a 3 or 4 game suspension for Watson or whatever, then they'll probably release Baker Mayfield or trade him. As far as him going to New England, I think it's very interesting. I mean, they do have Mac Jones, who they drafted last year, and he was pretty solid. Yeah. But bringing in Baker Mayfield is also something that could inspire Mac Jones to play better. Exactly. If Mac Jones goes down, then they're not going to lose much of anything. The only backup right now is Bailey Zappi that they drafted in the 5th round, I believe. Mm-hmm. So you can't really count on him to be much. So I like it. It's intriguing. It really is intriguing, even if Mac Jones is there.
What's your thoughts on that, Don?
Well, Baker Mayfield is such a complex guy. I mean, on one hand, he's an ass, but
he is an ass.
But I love the guy. I can't, and I should be saying that as a Longhorn guy, but and I guess it's because my nephew spent spring break with him a few years ago when they were in college. But I would like to see him wherever he ends up. I want to see him do well because he's fun to watch.
He is fun.
He is fun to watch, and you just don't know which Baker Mayfield you're going to get, though. I mean, I know his senior year when he was talking trash to Kansas. I mean, you hate to see that, but deep down you kind of love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's 100% it, Donald. Like, as Oklahoma fans, like when it happened, like we were all like, "Oh hell yeah, hell!" And then like at the end of the game, once we were done whooping them, because what they did at the beginning of the game and all that stuff, we were like, "Okay, yeah, that's pretty classless for sure," But I agree with you. It's funny that he is an ass, at some points.
But back when I was in school, Oklahoma had Brian Bosworth.
Oh, I remember the Boz.
And I remember Boz on the sideline. It was against Kansas because back then Kansas State was terrible. But they were up 60-7, whatever. Boz is on the bench. And the Kansas cheerleaders go up to him and he starts autographing their shirts and everything. I'm like,
wow.
I mean, the opposition's cheerleaders over there getting his autograph. I just thought that was a very so when Baker did that against Kansas State, I said, damn, that's a Bosworth move right there.
I think that's what kind of got him to be the most beloved OU figure of all time, was kind of having that, he's like a good guy. Like, people think he's a good guy, but when he's playing, he kind of has that alter ego type
Yeah.
thing. And I think that's kind of, what people kind of do like about him a little bit, But everyone says it's the chip on his shoulder thing. So
I can actually see Baker Mayfield playing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The Maulers are 0-4, so I mean,
USFL. Oh, we're going that far down the route.
it took me a minute to get that. I was like, oh yeah, Pittsburgh said that they'd sign him, but now I get okay.
Guys, does Tua have enough arm for Tyreek Hill? Mike, you wanted to start that one out?
Yeah, so he does. If you look at his metrics last year, he was pretty what do you call it? Accurate with his deep ball. He just didn't do it. It was like, I don't know the numbers. This is just hypothetical, but it was like he had one of the smallest deep ball attempts. So he's like tried 20 attempts and he connected on like 18. So it's a small sample size, but when he did do it, he was very good with it. So I think this was one of the reasons why they brought in Tyreek Hill, so they can actually open up the offense, because there was nobody on this offense last year that could run the 7, 8, or 9 routes, and now they have it. So this will definitely open up the routes. The deep ball, this will give Tua a chance to test his arm, and see if that small sample size is a very good, correct sample size to use to even more extent, or it was just one of those things where, because the defense are playing up, because they're not being threatened by the vertical, that he was able to be successful. We'll see.
Don, what do you think? You think Tua has enough arm for Tyreek?
I think he does. Yeah, definitely. And the thing about Tyreek is you don't really have the big arm. Just give him the ball, 15 yards downfield and let him do the rest. I mean, he's one of those type of players. But yeah, I think Tua can get it done.
Are you going to make unanimous, Dylan?
Oh yeah, and I think what Mike said is valid, right? Like the Dolphins didn't throw the ball field very much, right? And now that you got Tyreek, you kind of have to change up your game plan. But look back to what he did when he was back at Bama in 2019 with Jerry Jeudy and also Henry Ruggs. I'd be interested in looking up. I don't know the stats, but I'd be interested in looking up the stats for his long ball accuracy. Back in 2019 with Alabama, because I think he has it. I know where this question is coming from. I think, I don't know if it was that video where he underthrew, Tyreek.
Oh,
and
Tyreek Hill, yeah.
And videos can be, deceiving. And, we've all seen Tim Tebow when he threw that football and it, my mom threw better than that, situations like, but Tua, I think he's got it. He's definitely not Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be a big transition for Tyreek. Not being able to throw 75 yards downfield on the spot, but 50, 55 yards downfield, I think he'll be all right.
You mentioned Patrick Mahomes, Dylan. Has Josh Allen surpassed Patrick Mahomes as the best quarterback? And I'm going to say the AFC. I'm not going to say the NFL, but I'm going to say just the AFC.
Huh. I missed that question on. Man, that's a good question, man. Well, let me ask you guys this, because this will help me with my answer. Do you think being the best quarterback, is definitely, equal to having like are we saying Josh Allen's is now the better quarterback because, Tyreek's gone, the biggest threat on the Chiefs. So now technically one of the best offenses in the AFC is the Bills. Like, is that kind of what we're talking about? Because talent wise, I'd say no. I think Mahomes is once in a generation arm talent. So I wouldn't say he's like the most talented. More than Patrick Mahomes. I don't think so, but I think he definitely has the best offense, and I think he has. He's probably going to run it a lot better than what the Chiefs might, end up doing, changing up their system a little bit. But I guess I'd say, yeah, he might be taking over the AFC for sure.
What's your thoughts on Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes there, Don?
Well, good question, but I would add this. Are they both better than Joe Burrow? I mean, Joe Burrow.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Joe Burrow's going to be a badass. But if we're just going to keep it between Allen and
no. It says the best quarterback in the AFC. So if you don't think that he's the best quarterback in the AFC, then it doesn't have to. It could be somebody else.
Yeah, but I think these guys they fit well in their systems. The question might be, how would Josh Allen do in Kansas City, or how would Mahomes do, in Buffalo? But I think it just depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for the big play, explosive, oh shit, what just happened? Then Mahomes is your guy. But as we've seen in last few games, a little pressure on him. He sometimes doesn't make the wisest choices all the time. But just looking, of course, I'll say this: I see a lot more Kansas City games than I do Buffalo, just because of the television in this area. But I'm real impressed with Joe Burrow. I mean, that guy, he tore it up. I mean, he's going to be the guy to watch, along with those two.
Bungles' question is next week. But anyway, what do you think there, Mike? You mentioned putting them on opposite teams, but then Patrick Mahomes was playing with the number 2 defense or number 1 defense in the AFC.
Yeah, definitely passing defense is Kansas City's strong suit. I don't know now that Tyrann Mathieu's gone. We'll see how they respond. But overall, I think it depends on what you're looking at. I think Dylan made a good distinction. Are we looking at fantasy football, or are we looking at NFL football? And if I'm going to go with NFL, then I don't think anybody beats Patrick Mahomes. To me, he's just the best. Could be the best ever, to be honest with you.
He definitely has that potential. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if we're going with fantasy football, I'm going to go Josh Allen. I also like what Don brought up with Joe Burrow too. I don't think he's as good as Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but I'm not going to snuff at it. I think that Joe Burrow is going to be a great quarterback in this league.
Yeah, I think Joe Burrow has the same arm talent as those two quarterbacks, around there at least. But you got Josh Allen at 6'6" and can run like he can. It's
crazy,
kind of hard not to take that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, with you and Bill and Dylan, all fantasy football guys, and somewhat myself, we're going to have to do a fantasy football show also.
Yeah,
Dylan, let me introduce you to Mike, the king of dynasty football. Mike has over 100 dynasty football teams.
He's exaggerating. I don't have that many.
I'm about to say, okay, wow.
I do have probably more than what's probably required for anybody. But
this is a year. You have a.
Yeah, I build on
dynasty. I said, Dylan.
I have about 50 dynasty leagues, but
A year.
yeah. So
My man, props to you, dude. I can't keep up with 3. If I do more than 3, I know I'm not going to win one league, so I try to only do 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's a practice in discipline for sure. I gotta
for sure, man. Yeah,
I got spreadsheets and everything else, and most of the time, I don't feel like it's worth it. But then you win here and there, and then you make back the money, and then it's just a problem. It's just an ever growing problem. But it is very nice to meet you, Dylan.
Hey, right back to you, Mike. Right back to you. And I like what you said. If you get into it, and it can be stressful, it can be fun, but when you win the money back, my wife is just
it makes it worth it.
My wife's so happy that we didn't lose any money because she takes stupid
exactly
money.
Right.
Hey, I love it. So.
Yep. I know the feeling. Yes, very true.
Don, who are your teams that are going to win 12 or more games this season?
Oh boy. I would say Buffalo, maybe Cincinnati. I would say Los Angeles.
Chargers or Rams?
Rams.
Or both?
Rams. Okay. I'm sorry, Rams. I think I put 4, huh?
You can pick as many as you want. That doesn't mean they're all going to make the playoffs, but how many teams do you think are going to win 12 or more games? You can pick 5, 6.
I would say the Rams, the Bengals, Buffalo, and I'll throw Tampa Bay in there.
So you have just 4 teams winning 12 games or more.
Because some of these guys have to play each other, so yeah.
Dylan?
Man, pretty much all agree with what Don said. Like, definitely the Rams, Buffalo. I'm not sure Tampa Bay will get to 12. But I am going to say, because you did ask Rams or Chargers, I'm going to say both. Because, Justin Herbert, he's becoming an up-and-coming, good NFL quarterback. But I think one key addition that a lot of people for the Chargers made this year is Khalil Mack on that defense. So I think that's going to be a huge difference. So I'm going to put the Chargers. So I have Rams, Bills, Chargers, and I don't know. I'm not going to put Bengals down on that. You know what? I'm going to put the Bengals in on that because Pittsburgh, they're kind of going through that transition, of getting out of the Big Ben era. So, yeah, okay, maybe that makes sense, Donald. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I'm going to go with the Bengals on that one as well.
Mike?
Well, I think Buffalo for sure. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Rams. And if I had to pick a wild card, I'm going to pick
we're not going to pick that yet. I just want the team.
No, I just mean a wild card to win 12 games.
Okay.
Not the wild card is in playoffs.
Yeah. Now, I have some are the same, but I think I might have an addition here because I think the Bills will win 12 games. As much as I don't want, and everybody knows how I feel about anybody other than the Steelers in my division, I think the Bengals will win 12 games. I'm also looking at the Chiefs here and the Chargers, as well as the Rams. So I think and the Buccaneers. So I think I have 5 on my list of 12. But we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, I have the Chiefs and the Chargers both winning 12 games. But does that mean that both of them are going to make the playoffs? Maybe only one team out there makes the playoffs. We it's kind of hard to tell right now.
there's one
Good,
team I
Dylan.
did want to add. I was thinking. I was looking through and I was like, there's one more team. I was trying to think who it was. I'll say the Titans. I think the Titans might hit 12
I
this
don't
year.
like that.
You don't like it?
No.
Well,
Oh,
they
okay.
they play in the same division as the
Yeah.
Colts, and
Yeah.
if the Titans were to win 12 games, well,
Yeah, that would be
once again,
disappointing. That means they
yeah.
probably have to beat the Colts Giants, and I don't like that.
You got Matty Ice now. You got some hope.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely better than Carson. What about? I'll throw out this team for you guys. What do you guys think of Denver Broncos with a healthy defense and all that?
That's my next question.
Oh, okay.
Are the Broncos putting too much pressure on Russell Wilson to win this year? Mike, since
Seattle's put too much pressure on him to win the past 3 years.
Well,
it's not like he's not used to it, you know. I think that's one thing about Russell Wilson is that the way he prepares, and we kind of seen that lately, is that you can have a team like Seattle and Russell Wilson's going to keep you on the cusp of it. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to do that, but maybe a change of scenery. I don't know, maybe a little bit, just a different, organization. Maybe they can take some pressure off of him. I don't know, but they definitely are in a win now situation. But the pressure is on for sure. But I think Russell's definitely used to it, so I don't think it's gonna phase him.
What do you think there, Mike? You were just talking, you were getting ready to go through the defense and how much, this thing with Jared Judy is minor compared to everyone else. So I don't think there's going to be any really time lost or anything for Jared Judy on this. But Mike, what's your thoughts? Do you agree with Dylan? That's a rough division there, Mike.
Yeah, I do agree with Dylan. Russell Wilson is from the very beginning. Even when he stepped in and was drafted, I think it was the 3rd round or 4th round pick, he wasn't even selected to be even the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. And then he just emerged. So that's a lot of pressure, just being someone who's, okay, you're going to be the backup and then have to fight and claw and show that, hey, you know what, I'm better than who you brought in here. And so right away, he's been dealing with pressure, not being very good, being too small to play the game, and everything else. So he's shown all of that he can handle that. I think it's an accepted pressure with Seattle. This is sort of different. This is can he make Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy better players? And that's what he's been brought in to do, because we've seen the talent with those two. But if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't deliver those situations, then it's going to mount. Can he win the ball games that Teddy Bridgewater couldn't do, and certainly Drew Lock couldn't do? So that's going to be an extra pressure. It's a different pressure. It's something he can handle, but it's not going to be easy for him one bit.
Don, what's your thoughts? How much pressure is being put on Russell Wilson?
I don't think there's any pressure put on Russell Wilson that he's not putting on himself. I think he's motivated by inside forces, not so much outside forces. So I think Denver is going to be a good change of scenery for him, and he has to play defenses that are sucking in that high altitude oxygen, or lack of oxygen, I should say. I'm teasing, but I think, we're talking about 12 win teams. I didn't throw Denver in there, but I see them winning 10 with Russell Wilson. But they just have to be patient. But I think as an organization, Denver has shown that they've been in the past, they've been a top-notch organization, and I think Russell Wilson will be very welcomed, and I think they're going to do much better than they have been.
John, since you took them out of the 12 game winners, and you moved them down to 10, who wins the most games this year, Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray?
Ooh, I'm going to say I'm going to say Kyler because I think his supporting cast is just a little bit better. But that's a good question. No offense to Russell Wilson, but I just think Kyler has a little bit better maybe supporting cast, I guess.
Mike, what do you think? I mean, Kyler is going to be without DeAndre for at least 6 games.
Right.
What's your thoughts there? Who wins the most games since you didn't put Denver or Arizona in the 12-win category either?
That is correct. And I think if I had to choose which team would win 12 games, it's going to be Denver. But they have to stay healthy. That defense has to stay healthy. If it doesn't, then as we've seen every single year, they start off as one of the top defenses, but they always get hurt. And the count on that health is stressful in itself. But I'm going to go with Denver. I want to see Denver win 12 games, and I think they have the
They don't
best.
have to win 12. I just wanted to see who do you think wins the most?
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's very true. So because I think Denver will win the 12, they'll have the more wins than Arizona. Because I don't see Arizona winning 12.
Dylan, your thoughts? Who has the best record?
Hey, boy.
I can see Denver, usually when they have great quarterback play, they definitely, are always up there, especially in the win total. But I think, going to be without DeAndre Hopkins, right? But, I don't think people give Marquise Brown enough credit. This might be a biased Oklahoma fan, thing, but getting Hollywood Brown traded to him on draft day to team up with Kyler in Arizona, I don't think that's something small, because we saw they were in college. I know it's a lot different in the NFL, but I'm going to say Arizona because I think
no, you can't. I don't know if you can tell that to Joe Burrow and Chase or not. I mean,
but I still think Arizona is going to at least have more wins than the Broncos. I think with the way the Broncos have been lately, it's probably going to take more than a year to get them back to where, they're going to be very competitive with Russell.
Okay. Trying to see if there was another little. Let's go with the divisional champs and your 2 wild cards for each division. Don.
You say Don or Dylan?
Don.
What was the question?
Your divisional champs and your 2 wild cards for each division.
Oh, wow. That's so divisional champs. Let's go. So in the East, okay, I'll go AFC then NFC. Okay.
Okay.
AFC East. I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills win it, and I think the Dolphins will be the wild card. Will be a wild card.
Okay.
AFC North. Got to go with the Bengals. Sorry, I know Steelers is your team, but Bengals. The Bengals gonna own that division.
I'm not mad at you.
AFC South. Got to go Titans, and then West. Until I'm proven otherwise, it has to be Kansas City. NFC East. I think
you still owe me a wild card here.
Okay, so for the AFC wild card, for shits and grins, I'll say the Colts.
Yeah.
And the other one? You get 2.
I thought I said Miami, didn't I?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you got
Okay.
Miami.
So you got the Bills, the
Bengals.
Bengals, the Titans, and the Chiefs.
Yes.
And Miami and the Colts are your wild card.
Yes.
Okay. Mike, after that brilliant introduction by Don, who's your division champions and your two wild cards? Oh, wait a
So,
minute. Don, we didn't get to the the NFC. I'm
NFC.
sorry.
Okay. So NFC East. It's gonna be a humdinger, but I'm gonna go ahead and say Cowboys are gonna win East. I think Philadelphia will be nipping on their heels though. I'm gonna pick the Cowboys, but I'm not real confident in that pick. Let's just say go out there. NFC North. God, where's Demetrius? I need Demetrius here because I'm picking the Lions. I think they're going to upset Green Bay. I'm feeling it.
Okay.
NFC South, I go Tampa Bay, and in the West, gotta go Rams.
And your wild cards.
My wild card. Wow. I'm going to be nice to our new addition here. So I go Saints. And I will go Chicago Bears.
Whoa. Oh, my goodness. Okay. All right.
And let me preface this by saying I have no reason why I picked them. It just jumped out at me.
Yeah.
You just hope it happens. It'll make you feel good.
There's no rhyme or reason, but some of these teams, I'm basing it on stuff they did in the offseason and the draft. So thinking about professional football is you can win 12 games one season and then lose 10 the next. And I think that with the NIL and transfer portal, that's what's happening in college football because Texas went 5-6 last year, and they'll probably win 9 or 10 games this year just because of the transfer portal. I mean, just in NIL. So that's where we're headed.
Boy, not only you might have made friends with Demetrius, but Mr. Scott, I don't know how he's going to take your snubbing of those Vikings. Mike.
So I'll start with the AFC. I agree. Buffalo, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Kansas City are going to be the 4 division winners. The playoff teams are going to be the Raiders and the Chargers. I think 3 teams are going to go out of the AFC West in that situation. For an NFC, we're going to go Dallas. NFC North, we're going to go Minnesota. NFC South, Tampa Bay. NFC West, the Rams. And the 2 wild card teams out of there, we'll go Chicago. Why not? And I think Justin Fields could do that in Arizona.
Okay. Wow. Mm-hmm. Dylan.
Yeah, so AFC East, Buffalo, AFC North, Cincinnati, but then AFC South. I think Matt Ryan. I think we might see something there. I'm gonna pick the Colts to win the South, and then I'm gonna pick Kansas City winning the West. And the wild card teams will be the Chargers and the Patriots out of the AFC, and then NFC. I'm gonna go.
Hold it. Did you say the Patriots?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So the Patriots and Chargers as a wild card team. And then the NFC, let's go East, going with Don's Cowboys there. They'll probably get bounced in the first round again, but they're going to win the division. So, but then the NFC North, I'm going to take Green Bay. NFC South, taking my New Orleans Saints, and NFC West, I'm going to take the Rams. And my NFC wildcard teams are going to be San Francisco. And I'm going to go ahead and say either the Cardinals or the Lions. I'm going to go Cardinals on that. I feel a little bit more comfortable with that.
So you have Tampa Bay all the way out of the playoffs.
Yes, I do.
Very interesting.
And that's for you, Justin Nerio. My boss, who's a big Buccaneer fan.
Mine are the Bills, the Bungles. I'm going to have to go with the Titans on the AFC South. And I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs in the West. For my wild card teams, I'm going to have to go with the Chargers and the Colts.
There you go.
Okay. NFC East, I'm going to have to go with the Eagles. The North, I'm going to go with the Packers. Bounced out in the first round as usual. But I'm also going to go with Tampa Bay, and I'm going to go with the Rams. My wild card teams are going to be the Arizona Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings. Much as I really wanted to kind of dig in on Mr. Scott tonight, but he isn't here, so I can't do that. But guys, what do you think about your particular schedule, and give your team what do you think is going to be their winning mark? I noticed no one picked any of their teams as a 12-game winner. So let's start with you, Don. What do you think is going to be the final season record for the Dallas Cowboys?
All right, so I'm going to go back and look at the schedule again. I remember looking at the first 9 games. So
well, we can do it week by week. The Buccaneers.
So I'm going to say we're looking at about 10 wins, and then no, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'll go 10 wins.
And you guys can keep these same questions in mind. Your leading rusher and your leading pass receiver.
Oh, well, you're asking a lot today, James. So the leading passer will be, of course, Dak.
No, the leading pass receiver.
Oh. Okay, I'm sorry.
And the leading rusher.
I think this year that Pollard takes over as the leading rusher from Zeke. I think Zeke's going to be injury prone. I just had that. I'm not wishing that on him. I just feel like that's what's going to happen. And then the leading receiver will probably be CD Lamb.
Dylan. Same question.
I would say 11-6, just under 12 for the Saints. I think when we were talking earlier, when we have that death row of like all those teams, I think we lose like 4 out of 5 of those. But that leading pass receiver, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say it's going to be Chris Olave. I think that, I think Jameis hasn't really ever had someone to throw the ball downfield to. He had that in Mike Evans in Tampa Bay, and he succeeded in that. So I'm going to say Chris Olave, and then just going to assume Alvin Kamara is going to be playing. Even if he misses a few games, he'll probably still be our leading rusher. So I'm going to say Kamara.
Well, I think kind of asking you who's the leading rusher is going to just kind of a moot point, Mike. But,
Yeah.
Kamara might be our leading receiver. Like that's
yeah,
a thing.
yeah. You never know.
Your thoughts there, Mike?
I think they're going to be 11-6. I just went through their schedule right now, and I counted out 11 wins, 6 losses. The leading rusher obviously is going to be Jonathan Taylor, and the leading receiver is going to be Michael Pittman.
And what's in store with for Ty this year, Mike?
Nothing yet. Right now he's still a free agent. I don't think that their Colts are going to bring him back. So he's either going to have to land somewhere else or retire or put himself on hiatus, one of the two things. But I don't think he's a Colt this year.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who'd you say is going to be the leading receiver?
Michael Pittman.
Great. I heard Michael Vick, and I was like, what?
That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Yeah. Only I can make mistakes like that. Mike, what is your, now that you kind of know what's going on with your team? You have your quarterback. You of course probably have the league's leading rusher again. The impact of Jelani Woods.
I think he's going to be a goal line kind of receiver. The Colts offense right now, as far as like if we're going to consider tight ends receivers and just lump them all in right now in one ball, they have Alex Pierce, who's 6'3". Michael Pittman's like 6'3", 6'4". Jelani Woods is 6'4". And they have, of course, Mo Alley Cox, who's like 6'3", 6'4". So it's jump ball mania. I do like Jelani Woods in between the 20s too, but being a rookie at this point, it's mostly going to be touchdowns for him, but we don't even know how many touchdowns this is going to be with all those other guys vying for the jump ball situations. So I like it. I like what they're going to do. But if I'm just in a redraft only league, I'm probably going to avoid Jelani Woods unless you're looking at a keeper situation.
And what about the addition of Stephon Gilmore?
Oh yeah, that's going to really help. I was banging the table for the Saints, the one that just went to the Saints, Dylan
Honey Badger.
I'm sorry, what?
Tyrann Mathieu?
Yes, thank you. Tyrann Mathieu. I was really hoping the Colts were going to go there. But yeah, they can't go wrong with Stephon Gilmore. So hopefully
Honestly, you can't get too much better than that.
Yeah, I think the only problem kind of is he's a little old, but he's coming off an ACL tear. But I think the Colts are pretty happy to get him. And then we got Justin Blackman coming back, so the secondary is going to be really strong.
Yeah, I wanted the Steelers to pursue the Honey Badger a little more also, but hey, it is what it is. Don, why don't you give us your final thoughts for the evening? As always, good having you around. I was trying to get Mr. Harper on the show, Sean Harper. Don, I'm sure you're familiar with him, with his stint with the Oilers and some of the older teams, but he will be on next week. So he's going to talk a little bit about life after football and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So we will have Mr. Harper next week. Don, your final thoughts for the evening. Good to see you, my man, and hopefully you can get be with us next week.
Yeah, definitely. So my final thoughts: we never talk about this particular sport on the sports crib. However, I'm going to bring it up. That damn Kentucky Derby, 80-1. Talk about Vegas. What a story! I mean, I'm sure they're already casting a movie about that right now. You know, horse comes in, what 20? He enters the race 20 minutes, hasn't won a race in a couple of years. I mean, he just.
How does he get in?
Another horse dropped out, and the guy said, "Well, I'll just throw him in there." The jockey had never raced in the Derby before; his first time he's ever in the Derby.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so a lot of stuff happened, and so
Wow.
It was one of those where the stars really lined up, like Don said.
Yes.
He wasn't supposed to be there. Another horse had scratched, and he's supposed to be someone. He's supposed to be a filler, basically.
So that's like a real life Rocky story right there for that horse. And the field he's going up against was very celebrated. I mean, I don't know if I know about horses, but they'll go and collect semen from horses. Don't ask me how they do it. I don't want to know. But it's very expensive semen, and they'll go impregnate other horses. And you have
watch Yellowstone, Don. There's a
Right.
ask Jimmy how they get it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Poor
okay.
Jimmy.
So James is a Yellowstone fan. All right, that's right. They have ways of getting. But anyway, so this horse is going up against like horse racing royalty. We've got offspring of Triple Crown winners and descendants and stuff, and this horse is screw it, I'm going to win it. So my final thoughts is hats off to the underdogs or under horses in this case.
Yeah.
Mike, your thoughts, man.
Well, we got a new schedule coming out or arrived, and week 2, the Colts take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if they can't erase all those horrible memories of week 18 of last year's, I'm going to be a very, very agitated Colt fan. So let's go Colts. Let's take care of business in week 2 and wipe away all those memories, those horrific nightmares that I wake up in sweats and everything else thinking about how bad that game was. So good luck to the Colts in week 2, and let's get this going.
Dylan, first of all, I want you to know that you're probably a part of history, because this is probably the earliest that the sports crib has ever ended.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, we are not known to take watch of the clocks or anything like that. Usually it's about the time when we see Bill or Don nodding off. We
Start
know.
nodding off, yeah. we got to pick it up a little bit.
Then we know it's about that time.
I never nod off. Bill's sitting there with the sleep apnea machine in the background. So,
but hey, it was good having you on the show, man. We appreciate it. And usually, I don't know whether you guys have noticed it or not, but usually I always make comment about the token white guy in the room.
Yes.
Now it seems like the tables
the roles have been reversed.
Now the turntables.
So Dylan, you're welcome back anytime you want, man. I'll send you an invitation and our topics every week. You can come when you can, and we appreciate everything that you brought to the show. We appreciate your energy, and we look forward to having you back on the show, my man.
Oh, for sure. Man.
So,
James, for last 8-9 years, I've been the only token white guy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you how much I appreciate you bringing some other white guys in.
Yeah, that is true, Don. For almost a decade, you have been the only white guy on the show.
So we're going to talk more about bass fishing and
horse racing,
NASCAR.
Yeah, we got to do NASCAR.
We'll make some references to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Hey,
people like
one of my favorite shows.
Yoga. White people like yoga. White women, anyway.
Now we're gonna have Donald host and lead a hot yoga session for us.
Yeah.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Downward dog.
So as you can see, Dylan, we have fun, and we talk about a lot of subjects. So why don't you give us your final thoughts for the evening, man? And as I said, welcome, and I'll send you the invitation every week and the questions, and come when you can.
Yeah, man, for sure. I love doing this stuff. I do this about 2 times a week already, so I'm down to come back on for sure. My final thoughts. I'm gonna do what Mike did, and I'm gonna go and talk about my Saints and what they're gonna do to Tom Brady this year. We were talking about that this year, and you mentioned that I did not have the Buccaneers making the playoffs this year, and I think that this whole time Tom Brady has been just making us just be in awe of this guy, right? But he retires and he comes back. I don't know what that's going to do. He just signed a $375 million TV contract with Fox whenever he retires. The Saints are going to retire him this year. The Saints are going to continue that dominance, and we're going to send him off into the sunset to probably be one of the richest athletes or former athletes of all time doing this TV gig.
He'll be the richest sports analyst.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, and everyone's trying to fight for this Tony Romo money, and he's making. I think he's going to be making almost double than what he's going to make or something like that.
10 years, 375 mil.
It's insane. Wow. So he's going to go enjoy that. He's not going to be fully focused on the season. It's Tom Brady. Maybe he's probably going to win another Super Bowl, but I'm calling it right now. They don't make the playoffs. Saints beat them twice this year. Nice. It's going to be glorious.
I love it. Love it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, good talking with everyone this evening, and we appreciate your time, appreciate our audience, and don't forget to join us right here next week on the SportsKRIB, home of the SportsKRIB Network. Have a great night, everyone.
Take care, everyone.